one person is still missing after a house explosion in Scarborough.
There's a significant amount of damage. Very clearly, some type of explosion happened.
Crews are still searching through the debris. We'll have the latest from the scene. Plus,
I think we can safely say we were very pleased that they arrived at a deal.
more than 6 months of labor strife in the film and television industries is coming to an end. But it could be a while before you see your favorite actors again on screen. And
it's a lovely moment for us. We see thousands and thousands of our community people to dance here, to sing and to celebrate.
From fireworks to feasts and dancing, Ontarians joined the millions around the world celebrating Diwali.
This is CBC Late Night News.
A jury has found Peter Nyard guilty of sexually assaulting 4 women. The former fashion mogul was acquitted on a 5th count and a charge of forcible confinement. The verdict is the first conviction after years of allegations. Jamie Strachan has more.
For years, allegations of sexual assault have swirled around Peter Nyard. Now, he's convicted.
This is a battle won in a much bigger war.
Therapist Shannon Moroney has worked with dozens of women who've made allegations against Nyard, including 4 involved in this case. She shared reaction from one.
The verdict is not only for her, the guilty verdict, or for anyone else, but it is shared across all survivors, all women and girls. We did this for everyone, not only for ourselves.
Nyard was found guilty on 4 of 5 counts of sexual assault. Many of the allegations in this case stretch back decades and were only recently reported to police. Many of the women told similar stories of meeting Nyard by chance at a party or on a plane before they were assaulted in a private bedroom suite inside his Toronto headquarters. They didn't report it because they feared Nyard would ruin their career. The Crown painted Nyard as a predator who used his power and wealth to lure and abuse women.
This is a crime that typically happens in private and profoundly impacts human dignity. To stand up and recount those indignities in a public forum such as a courtroom is never easy and takes great courage.
Nyard's son Kai says he raised suspicions about his father's behavior years ago and was in the courtroom when the verdict was read.
I loved my father. It hurts me to see all of these things. I knew a different man, but when you get the reveal that there is another person, there's another personality within there, there's something evil in there, there's something perverse, there's something sick.
Nyard, who testified in his own defense, didn't appear to react to the verdict. His lawyer says he's considering whether to appeal.
As you've all seen, Mr. Nyard is frail, has numerous health challenges.
Nyard left court Sunday hunched in the back of a police van, a black parka obscuring most of his face, a shadow of the man who for years was one of the most powerful men in global fashion.
A long legal road ahead still for Peter Nyard, facing criminal charges in Quebec, Manitoba, and New York State. Beyond the criminal cases, also facing a civil suit in the United States involving dozens of alleged victims. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
One person is still missing after a house explosion in Scarborough this morning. Nearby residents were evacuated from their homes, and crews are still on scene searching the debris. Anam Khan reports.
It was a shocking scene for residents in and around Kitchener Street. They woke up to an explosion this morning that rocked their homes.
Windows were blown across the street and onto the street.
I heard a boom and the whole house, including the foundation, because I just stepped in the house and my feet, I shook. And my brain, I thought, what the heck is that? You know, I've never been in an earthquake. Was that an earthquake?
It was the sound of his neighbor's house exploding. Residents in the area captured these videos right before noon. It shows the house collapsed inward and completely turned into rubble. Some houses around even had debris on the roof.
There was a lot of people that went screaming into the yard. Is anybody in there? Is there anybody in there?
The fire chief says one person is unaccounted for and may have been inside during the explosion.
We'll definitely be here overnight and well into tomorrow, and then timing from there will really depend on how those search and rescue operations and the investigation operations, how they progress and where the evidence takes them.
This evening, emergency crews are using a 70-meter aerial platform to get a vantage point of the scene during the investigation.
They will eventually get into all of that scene examination, determine what happened, what caused it, and what the circumstances contributing are.
Several residents were evacuated from their homes while emergency crews worked to make sure there was no danger to the area.
I've been out since like 11, 12. It's been like 4 or 5 hours. So we've been out since then.
Neighbors say the pile of debris will continue to be a horrifying reminder of the incident. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
3 people are in critical condition, including 2 children, after a 2-alarm fire at an apartment building in North York. First responders attended the call just before 9 p.m. on Saturday. Toronto's fire chief said the fire was in a 3rd-story unit of the building. Firefighters found 3 people inside, and they were transported to hospital. More than 230 people with Canadian ties managed to get across the border from Gaza into Egypt today. It's the biggest group of Canadians yet, after weeks of uncertainty, fear, and heartache for their families. Tom Perry has more.
After 2 days sealed shut, the only escape route for foreigners and dual nationals out of Gaza finally restored. More than 200 Canadians passed through the Rafah crossing on this day alone. Canadian officials in Cairo have already processed 2 groups of evacuees, with many expressing relief at being out of Gaza, but also regret. 14-year-old Kamar Fayyad and her 11-year-old brother Amir will soon be headed to BC to be with their father, Mohammed. They're looking forward to reuniting with their dad, who they haven't seen in a decade. But life in Gaza was something special. Amir says it was beautiful, going to school, playing soccer with his friends. In charge of the children, their uncle, Maysara Fayyad. He accompanied his niece and nephew through the Rafah crossing and now has a Canadian visa to take them all the way to BC. But making this journey involved a difficult choice.
I feel emotionally upset.
Fayyad's own family, his wife and 5 children, are still back in Gaza.
I'm really happy for the kids, so I will get them to their dad after 10 years. But just worried and feeling so bad about my family in Gaza. So my mind there and my heart there.
Fayyad says he'll return to his family as soon as he can. He's just not sure when that will be. Tonight, more buses arrived carrying more Canadians who have escaped from Gaza in far greater numbers than ever. With them will come more stories of difficult choices, people fleeing for their lives while leaving so much behind.
2 major hospitals in Gaza City have closed to new patients. Officials say both the Al-Shifa and Al-Quds hospitals are effectively blockaded amid the Israeli military campaign. The World Health Organization confirms Al-Shifa is not functioning as a hospital. Briar Stewart reports.
As war rages throughout the embattled neighborhoods of North Gaza, here are some of the most vulnerable. Born into violence that's already killed several thousand. Premature babies no longer in incubators because the hospital is out of fuel. It's Briar Stewart from CBC. Hello, can you hear me? We reached Dr. Mohammed Abu Salmiya, the director of Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest in Gaza. It's now reportedly out of electricity, water, and food. He says 3 babies have died in the past 2 days.
We wait for any help from military, Israeli military, for us, International Red Cross, from anyone. We need to evacuate this patient safely in other hospital in Gaza or out Gaza.
Israel said it would help evacuate the 37 babies in the neonatal unit, but that hasn't happened yet. And Israel says it isn't to blame.
There's no reason why we just can't take the patients out of there instead of letting Hamas use it as a command center for terrorism.
The Israeli Defense Forces released this video, which it says shows soldiers dropping off 300 liters of fuel outside the hospital. The director told us that fuel has not been received, and it isn't nearly enough anyway.
And it's dangerous for no one from the hospital can go and come bring this fuel from the street in this situation.
Israel suggested that Hamas was preventing the hospital from getting the fuel. Hamas denies that. Hundreds of thousands have managed to make their way out towards the south, where it's supposed to be safer, but there's no sanctuary here. Just outside of the city of Han Yunis, 13 people were reportedly killed in an Israeli airstrike. While Israel is facing growing international pressure, including from the EU, to pause fighting amid the mounting death toll, a group of U.S. congressmen came to Tel Aviv to show strong support for a country viciously attacked last month.
The battle against terrorism. Barbaric terrorism. It's even worse. Thank you.
U.S. officials say they're in talks with Qatar, who is in communication with Hamas leaders. They say they're discussing the urgent need to evacuate the critically wounded, as well as to secure the release of the nearly 240 hostages still trapped in Gaza. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Jerusalem.
And there were several rallies taking place in Toronto today. One demonstration was held at Nathan Phillips Square, calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Everyone in the world is coming together, people in Toronto, myself. I'm an early childhood educator, and my heart breaks for the children that I see dying every day in Gaza. And so for me, it was no question. I have to come here and use my voice in any way possible to say a ceasefire now.
The rally was organized by Toronto for Palestine for the Pan-Canadian Day of Action. Thousands took to the streets in front of City Hall. And hundreds also gathered for a rally at Christie Pitts Park this afternoon. It was organized by the UJA Federation of Greater Toronto and was calling for the release of Israeli hostages being held in Gaza.
If you talk to any Jewish person in Toronto right now, they're afraid for their family's safety, for the community's safety. And I thought it was important to show that the city of Toronto, the people of Toronto, my husband and I live in Leslieville, and we don't think about our safety on a day-to-day basis the same way the Jewish community is. And so with the rise of anti-Semitism, my husband and I thought it was important to come out today and show our support to stand with Toronto's Jewish community and to call for the release of the hostages.
Christie Pitts is a significant space for the Jewish community. It's the location of Canada's largest race to reject anti-Semitism 90 years ago. Toronto's film industry will soon be back in action now that a tentative deal has been reached in the Hollywood actors' strike. The strike had a major impact on those who make film and TV here, both in front of and behind the camera. Tyler Cheese checked in with industry insiders today to find out what happens next.
After 118 days, the Hollywood actors' strike has likely come to an end. Here in Toronto, that means those who work in film and TV are gearing up to head back to set.
I think we can safely say we were very pleased that they arrived at a deal.
SAG-AFTRA announced a preliminary deal on a new contract with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers last Wednesday.
The full deal is starting to roll out now, so we're now getting to see, bits and pieces of it. And, there's lots and lots of good stuff in this.
The new 3-year contract still needs to be ratified, but includes increases in minimum salaries, a new streaming participation bonus, and some protections against the use of artificial intelligence. It's a relief to many as the strike shut down a significant number of productions in the GTA.
Suddenly 55% of that work just disappeared. So huge financial implications for the strike itself.
While most in the industry are celebrating the news that the actors' strike may finally be over, there's still the matter of an ongoing lockout for commercial performers right here north of the border.
For over 550 days, Canadian union members have been locked out of working on the majority of commercials in Canada. Voiceover is almost completely gone, and on-camera commercials have been greatly reduced.
Out is the result of a dispute between ACTRA and the institute that represents Canada's largest advertising agencies. Meantime, those who work behind the scenes are staying focused on the end of the SAG-AFTRA strike. Roman Neubacher speaks for the union representing Toronto's camera operators.
So to get this news that they got to an agreement is amazing.
He's hopeful that some shoots will be back as soon as possible, but
I have a feeling that we're going to see them sort of come in January, February. only because to sort of ramp up a show, which is a huge endeavor, to then take 2 weeks off of Christmas, which a lot of them do.
SAG-AFTRA members will now participate in a ratification vote set to conclude in early December. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Millions of people in India and around the world are celebrating Diwali. Over the weekend, there were a number of events to mark the holiday. The annual Festival of Lights celebrates the triumph of good over evil.
With Diwali, we celebrate here in Brampton, and it's a lovely moment for us. We see thousands and thousands of our community people to dance here, to sing, and to celebrate. And it's also a sign of togetherness that we bring. So it's a good moment to cheer it up with the festival. So yeah.
The city of Brampton hosting its first ever community celebration this year. The event started at 4 p.m. and featured a fireworks display as well as live music, food, and performances. Sophia Kambalia joins us now with a first look at the forecast, and not a bad day to be out for Diwali celebrations.
No, you needed to bundle up, though. The last chilly day for a little while for many of us into the south and into the southwest. Chance for a few showers into the overnight period as well, but mostly cloudy, hovering just below the freezing mark. We're seeing some of that cool, wet rain come down right now as we speak throughout the Nickel Belt, even a little bit of a wintry mix and some light snow. It will be snow on the mind for those of you in Bancroft and into Ottawa throughout your Monday, maybe even 1 to 3 centimeters, especially the further north and west you go from the downtown core and the nation's capital region. And then for everybody else, it's a cloudy day. But your Monday is really the divide between two temperature air masses. Look at that. Ottawa's temperature with that snow coming down 2 degrees, but 4 degrees below your seasonal normal, while it's a balmy 14 in Windsor for your Monday. We equalize it throughout the work week, folks. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. This high pressure to our south and to our east will bring in the floodgates from Midwest heat to flood in for this upcoming work week. Here's the teaser. Look at Thursday, 14 in Windsor, 13 in Barrie, and 10 in Ottawa. I'll tell you when the next chance of rain is and how long the warmth lasts in the long range. Talia.
Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
Canada's women's tennis team is celebrating its first ever championship at the Billie Jean King Cup. It was a historic moment for the team, with 21-year-old Leylah Fernandez clinching the win. Yvette Brend has the story.
Leylah Fernandez led Team Canada to victory, defeating her Italian opponent in straight sets, sending her teammates onto the court to celebrate.
World champions of Canada! It feels amazing, and I'm extremely proud that I was able to get to represent Canada at the biggest stage and to do it in front of Billie Jean. It means the world to me, to us.
Canada's team gets a record $2.4 million US in prize money.
This is such a special event to play as a team. I think we all get to know each other better and really feel patriotic. And so hopefully Canadians are watching at home and feel happy for us and happy for the entire country. And we can't wait to put on these jackets, baby. Woo!
And blue jackets for each player on the team from the tennis legend herself. And a breakout performance from Marina Stakusic, just 18 years old. A surprise pick for the singles match, she scored a big victory against a much higher-ranked player.
It's been such an honor being a part of this team, and I couldn't be more proud of everyone. Like, this has seriously been the best experience ever.
She's incredible, and the future is looking very, very bright for her.
Indeed, the future is looking very bright for all of Canadian tennis. The Canadian men's team will be defending their Davis Cup title later this month.
We are really doing well, and we are competitive in every aspect of the game.
Today we made history, and just hoping that this inspires a lot of young girls at home. Canada wasn't a tennis nation a couple of years ago, and now it definitely is. Yes, go out there and play tennis.
So good. She says this dream come true is only the first of many yet to come. Yvette Brend, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2023 will be inducted tomorrow. Swedish goaltender Henrik Lundqvist spoke to us today about the honor of being selected, along with Mike Vernon and Tom Barrasso.
Every year, the class is unique in its own way. For me, obviously, it's special to go into the Hall of Fame with two other goalies. I remember, as a kid watching these two guys, and they played a huge part in hockey history.
Caroline Ouellette is also among the inductees this year. She's won 4 Olympic gold medals with Canada's women's team. Today, the class received their official honored member Blazers ahead of a game at Scotiabank Arena. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you've ever wanted to bring out your inner child, this next group is doing exactly that through a nostalgic kids toy, the Tamagotchi.
It is definitely really, really cool. I definitely didn't think there was so many people into it around my age. And because you can breed them and because you can go make them meet each other as friends in your Tamagotchi. It's super fun too.
This virtual pet first gained popularity in the late 90s. One of its remaining fan clubs is here in Toronto. I love that, but I was more of a Pokemon girl myself.
I remember saving up a lot of allowance money for my Tamagotchi way back in the day.
Totally
I kept it alive for a while as well. You'll need some heat to keep anybody alive this upcoming work week, and you will have lots of that coming in across the GTA, across even parts of Northern Ontario. Great week to keep the golfers alive and maybe even put up the Christmas lights as well. We're talking about double-digit warmth throughout the province. Look at Monday, though. Not for everybody, just a couple degrees above the freezing mark for those of you in the nation's capital region. Meanwhile, balmy in parts of the southwestern portion of the province. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's Midwest heat that will be flowing in on top of this ridge of high pressure throughout this upcoming work week. Next chance for rain really isn't until Friday into Saturday. Look at Wednesday. Try Wednesday on for size, where even Sault Ste. Marie and Parry Sound will be in the double-digit range. And for Thursday, we're looking at temperatures that are anywhere from 3 to 8 degrees above the seasonal average. So balmy, great Christmas light on the house type weather. We're going for the par for the course for this month. We've had really an above seasonal run, and this upcoming week is no difference. Guidance for next week looks to be rather cool though, so enjoy the plenty of chances of sunshine for this upcoming week ahead. Places like Windsor will be in the double digits pretty much every single day until that rainy system comes in on Friday. So perfect holiday decorating weather is my message, Talia.
Good tip. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Good night.